it was easy to cling to the words, and it was easy to find a little bit of hope in them, a little bit of it's okay. Again, it's normal. What you're experiencing is something that everybody experiences. So, like I said, I just think that loving, caring, and losing somebody is such a universal experience that it could resonate and does resonate with basically everybody who reads it and now watches it.
I believe that in our youth, our mental health is so huge, and no one really prepares youth for what's going to happen with them. Welcome, ladies. Welcome, Yasmin, Kennedy, and Sabrina. I know you guys have a short film that is excellent, and we're going to talk about that. But what I would love to hear from each of you is what felt the toughest for you as you went through your teenage years? Why don't we start with you, Kennedy? Kind of the things that pulled at you the most, because whatever you can identify, there's lots of young women that can see themselves in you right now.
Gosh, that's yeah, that's a big question. Because that's like a lot of years of my life and a lot of like formative years in my life. I feel like probably my biggest battle was my mental health and kind of figuring out just all of that, like how to keep it steady and how how to like move through life and figure myself out while also dealing with something that was super difficult for me in my teenage years. I mean, I still struggle with, but I think just like the becoming of who you are is like burdened by having to deal with the chemicals in your brain just like not working very well. So I think being able to like get into therapy and get on medication for me was super beneficial as I moved throughout my teenage years. But I would say that was probably my biggest obstacle because it makes everything else a lot harder and a lot bigger. So,
Thank you for that authentic answer. What about for you, Sabrina?
I think for me, the biggest struggle in my teenage years was like doing the balancing act, like trying to juggle all these different aspects of my life and learning how to, because up until that point, you don't really have to. And I think something else is it's such a transitionary period going from, at least for me, it was going from, oh, that's so sad that this happens in the world, but that would never happen to me. But then figuring out, oh no, this happens to me too, and it could happen to me, and things like that. And then I think for me, a big thing was like fear for the future, like a mix of fear and excitement for the future, because especially in nowadays, um, so many talented people are being so successful at such young ages, and we just keep like the success rate just keeps getting younger and younger and younger, and then you feel the need to like, oh, I have to have this settled at this age, at a younger age, and stuff like that. I have to be successful younger now. And I think the big thing for me was being like, okay, breathe. You are handling seven different things right now. You can also handle this in the future, or it's not as detrimental as you think it is. If so much pressure is put on, I feel like during those years, and you just have to realize that, again, this is a transitionary period of your life, and everyone else is learning and you're learning. And I think also a big thing is coming across different types of people in those years and learning how to handle certain situations and people in different ways and stuff like that was something that I had to do a lot. Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you, Sabrina. You all each make such great points that a lot of adults forget about when their teenagers are going through and growing through these things. So thank you for bringing them up. Yasmin, what about you?
I think the biggest thing that I battled with throughout my teenage years, which I'm still technically in, um,
Yeah.
was anxiety and right, was anxiety and self-image issues, and I mean, those are both very prominent issues nowadays with teenagers, both girls and boys or people, um, and having to figure out, with social media and new friends and classes and just balancing everything in your life, having to look inward and figure out where you fit in all of that.
Mhm.
It's to be so difficult. So having to also balance, outside thoughts and opinions, and then your own thoughts and opinions of yourself, they all become super convoluted because up until this point, you've been told who you are. You've had your parents tell you who you are and your teachers tell you who you are. So it's like the biggest figuring yourself out part of your life. And it was definitely a struggle for me.
I
Can I
do
add
believe,
something too?
sure.
I also like on that note, I also feel like, well, actually, I don't know if it was on that note, but something I also thought of was like also during those years, you have to learn how to set boundaries for yourself and for other people, and boundaries you've never had to set or figure out before, or realize that you would eventually have to. And going back to what you said, Rima, about, you know, adults kind of putting this pressure on kids. Something else is that during the teenage years, adults don't quite, they treat you like a kid, but they also expect you to be a grown up. So it's also a weird line between that and having to deal with other people's expectations and stuff like that, but also going back to setting boundaries of you can't have both. You have to choose kind of, I feel like you kind of have to balance and figure out like where you are.
It's all about finding your place.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I know that as I talk to a lot of young individuals, that is one of the things that they bring up the most is that all of a sudden you're expected to be an adult when just a day ago they were looking at you as a child, and now you're expected to have everything figured out and doing everything properly. So thank you for mentioning that, Sabrina. And for anyone out there that's listening that you're going through this, you're not the only one. And how did you become better at figuring things out? What did you use? What did you rely on for each of you to grow through those years and keep your sanity? Because honestly, I recall even from my teenage years, which were such a long time ago, that chemical soup that's in our head that's playing havoc in our bodies is already driving us into a space that we're totally unfamiliar with. But for you now, on top of it is social media and all this information coming at you and access that's coming at you that we really didn't have to face at all. Your generation is bombarded. So what did you use to get through those years and grow so that you can maintain a balance of sanity? Kennedy?
I feel like for me, the biggest thing is just who I surround myself with in like my real life, not like my Instagram or social media persona, but the people that I keep close to me. And I feel like I was really lucky in those years. First of all, my mom is incredible, and an angel. And so that I think was the biggest thing for me. But then also, I got really lucky with my friends and the friends that I kept close in my life, Yasmin, Sabrina included, that kept me grounded and hyped me up and were always, I feel like, there for me when I like needed a reality check.
Excellent. Such a good point. Having the right circle of individuals around you. Adults talk about that a lot, but for you as a teenager to understand that in your teen years and as you are today, that it does make an impact of how you see yourself. What about for you, Sabrina?
I completely agree with that. That was such a big part of my life. Um, I mean, I got to meet these two when I was freshly 16. So having these two and all the incredible other people I've met in those teenage years was so beneficial and helpful to me. I mean, up until that point, I think the big thing that got me through things was just honestly trial and error. Um, as much as it sucks to have the error part of it. But luckily, I mean, me personally, it's not the same for everyone, but me personally, I was able to kind of navigate through that a little bit earlier on. And then I was able to find those specific people. And I think who you surround yourself with is so huge. I completely agree with everything Kennedy just said. Because I am the person who I am because of the people I surround myself with. Like even just like creatively, having creative friends, I would not have the skill set in, for example, photography that I have now if it weren't for the fact that me and one of my best friends at the time would literally just take photos every weekend just for fun. And they weren't good. But it's just like having someone that I can create with, or someone I can talk to, or someone that I genuinely feel comfortable with. And then going back to the trial and error, like I definitely had some friends that wasn't as good for me, but in experiencing that, I was like, okay, now I know what to look out for, and I know what didn't make me feel good, and I know what did make me feel good. And I think, yeah, I think the people in your life is such a big thing. And I also have such a supportive family as well, so that helped a lot as well. Yeah.
That's fantastic. What about for you, Yasmin?
Yeah, I mean, these guys hit the nail right on the head right there. No, it's as soon as you asked the question, my first thought was the support group and your support circle. And I was so fortunate to have such a wonderful one in my formative years between my family and Rima, my aunt, and my friends. Even when I was in the absolute depths of self-doubt and insecurities, you all assured me, and everyone else in my circle that I was so lucky to have assured me that everything was fine, that this was normal, first and foremost, that it wasn't just me, it wasn't an individual experience. I didn't feel ostracized because of that experience. Um, and just made me feel so comfortable. So having the right people in your life truly make all the difference. And I know that's like, it's hard to tell at that age who's the right person in your life and who's not. Um, and sometimes you do just get lucky with that. But, and it's, another thing is just time.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it's just everybody's brains work so differently. It's hard to give specific advice to people's whose brains work different than your own. Um, so I think for me, just giving it time to figure myself out was the biggest thing outside of my support circle.
I feel like also to add on to both of you, I like what Sabrina said, like trial and error. And this will definitely come up when we do discuss the short film because it's kind of one of the themes of it. But something that I think we all wanted to convey in that was that when you're a teenager and you're going through those years, like everything you're feeling or experiencing, you're probably experiencing for the first time.
Mhm.
And I think that's daunting in and of itself because you're like, my entire world is actually ending because you've never been through it before.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's like it is a process of trial and error, like Sabrina said, completely, because I think that's the other thing I think that helped me through those years was experiencing something really hard once and then knowing that the next time it came around that I could handle it. And so unfortunately, I think it is just like going through things and moving through them. And I think that's what's so unique about that time period in your life is that you've never like been in a relationship. You've never had a friendship this close. You've never had your heart broken. I mean, there's just like a lot of different things that come for the first time in those years, and that makes it so unique.
Mhm.
And you
And
said it
that being
best. Sorry, go ahead, Sabrina.
Oh, okay. Well, that being said, just quick little thing. That being said, I do feel like through all these errors out of the trials, there is, at least for me personally, I've been able to find something that I benefited from all of those cases. Whether no matter how badly it sucked and I hated it in the moment, and I probably still do, I definitely got something out of all those experiences. Can't have the highs without the lows kind of a thing.
I think that's kind of where time kicks in, is that after a little bit of time, you can look back and be like, oh, there was a reason for that. I didn't know it then, but I know that now.
Definitely the emotions are super high when we're young. And like you said, Kennedy, it's the first time you experience something and learning how to deal with it within yourself, but having a great circle of friends to at least go over those emotions or having an adult that you can actually talk to and discuss things makes a gigantic difference. And that's a great lead in into our wonderful short film. Number one is congratulations on your short film. Congratulations to all of you. incredible piece. I would love to know, Kennedy, what was your own thinking in choosing this poem and this piece to do a short film?
Yeah, I had read the poem probably like I want to say like 2020, 2021. I had followed it's her name is Piper Curta. Shout out Piper. She had like this website that was kind of like hidden in the corners of the internet, and a friend of mine did like an app, and Piper did kind of a guest spot on the app in probably like 2016 and shared a piece of her work on the app. And so ever since then, I just like every few months was like, I'm gonna check in, like, just see if she's updated her website, because I really felt connected to the first piece that I read by her. And then probably, yeah, for like the past few years, I've just loved this poem. It was entitled What You Taught Me, and I felt like it was such a encapsulation of growing up and meeting people and going through experiences, and also kind of this overarching theme that like everybody that you meet that like plays a role in your life, like Yasmin said, like no matter how it sucks, like that it ends up building you into the person that you are, and that you can be thankful for those experiences no matter how devastating they are in the moment. And it was last January, it was like this time last year, that I was going through my own personal situation. And just like really in the depths of kind of a little heartbreak of someone who had been in my life for a really long time. And I stumbled upon the poem again. So I just wanted to like connect with something. I just felt like it really like spoke for me in a way that I like couldn't form my own words. And I thought to myself, if this touches me so much and I'm just reading it, imagine how impactful it would be with visuals and with music and with like a specific character's face to the experiences. So that was kind of my thought process in like, hey, this would be really touching if we turned it into a short and added all the elements of film that I love and I'm so moved by.
And you did a fantastic job in it. So I'm sure the audience is going to go back and watch this and see the short film on Vimeo. How do you say that word?
Vimeo.
That one word
Yeah.
always gets me. So
Vimeo.
we'll put a link to it. What did it mean to you, Sabrina, this particular poem and this piece?
Well, gosh, I feel like Kennedy's saying everything that I want to. She's so good at this. I mean, if I remember correctly, I believe Kennedy, you had come to me with two poems and just was like, I want to do something with these. And then I read the What You Taught Me one, and I was like, I love this. And you were like, great, because I was kind of leaning towards that. If I remember correctly, I believe that's how it went. It's been a while, but
It was a blur. I don't remember.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember how it all unfolded.
I just remember showing up in Utah and being like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah. I think I only had the one poem. I'm pretty sure. I was always pretty set on
Okay.
that poem. Yeah.
Never mind that.
'Cause
Yeah.
I think Kennedy, you sent me that one. I think it was before 2020. I think you sent me that in like 2019,
Yeah.
early
I had been
2019.
sharing this thing. I had been getting her website some traffic for a few years because I had shared that poem a few times with friends who were kind of like in a rut or going through something. So I'm sure, yeah, if you ever texted me you were going through something, that poem was in your inbox.
Right.
Sure.
Was.
Yeah.
I think it was to me for both reasons, because we were both kind of having our own problem, and you were like, "This is helping me."
Yeah. I feel so connected to this. Yeah, because I think Sabrina, before I even figured out like if I was gonna make this, I was like, this is not my work of art. I need to ask this girl if I
I
can
remember, yeah.
if I can use her poem. And so she was very generous and let me, kind of take creative control of it. And then I was like, okay, I'll kind of like pull some players in, and Sabrina was just the first person that I thought of.
You're so happy.
And I was super glad that she said yes.
On the opposite end, I'm so happy you asked me. But thank you. Um, but yeah, kind of going back to your question, and also it's kind of bouncing off of exactly what Kennedy had said in her answer, but I feel like specifically when we did shoot this and Kennedy came to me with this, I had just kind of come out of those main big like transitionary years. Gosh, that's a word, right? Transitionary. I feel like I keep
We can
using
make it a
that.
word.
Okay.
Traditional, maybe.
I keep using it, so I hope it is, but you understand. But yeah, I had just like I was nearing 20 if I was not already 20. I can't remember now. I think I was already 20, but
We're acting like this was like 5 years ago. It was like
no, I
less than
know,
a year
but I
ago.
feel like so much
None
has
of us
happened
can
since
remember
then.
anything.
It was like a year ago.
You're 20.
Yeah, so I guess I was 20. So I had just gotten out of those teenage years and I just dropped out of college too. And so I was really in the very beginning of having to enter the real world and being on my own without having that day-to-day school systems thing where you have like it already kind of laid out for you. And so I feel like I had kind of ended that chapter of my life right around that time. And I feel like this poem and the story behind it was such a, a it kind of really resonated with the chapter I just closed and also resonated with the chapter I was just opening as well. Cause I mean, Lux are the main character. um, it doesn't just follow her. It starts from her at 14, but it does go until she's 23, and I'm not 23 yet, but it was also kind of it was kind of fun to kind of see not so much the resolution, but maybe the resolution of yet another transitionary chapter of my life as well. I loved the time jumps and gaps and stuff because I feel like there was so much to be said in that. And that was 7 minutes. Yeah,
Powerful 7 minutes, honestly.
thank you.
Yasmin, what jumped out at you also from this project, from this poem?
I mean, the first thing that grabbed me was how beautiful the poem was, how beautifully it was written. Like Piper's words felt like they were jumping off the page. And I think that's in part because loving, caring, and then losing somebody is such a universal experience. And it doesn't just happen when you're a teenager, it happens throughout the entirety of your life. But like we said a couple minutes ago, all of your emotions are at a 10 when you're a teenager because this is so new. So it feels more important to talk about when you're young. But I mean, like Kennedy and I were just saying, we had both kind of been dealing with the things that were written on the page in the poem. So it was easy to cling to the words and it was easy to find a little bit of hope in them, a little bit of it's okay. Again, it's normal. What you're experiencing is something that everybody experiences. So like I said, I just think that loving, caring, and losing somebody is such a universal experience that it could resonate and does resonate with basically everybody who reads it and now watches it.
And I say it's not a 10, it feels like 100 when you're a teenager.
Yeah.
Million. It feels like it's world ending. It's detrimental.
Because you've
And
never experienced it before. So you're like, honestly,
Right.
no, like it might kill me. Like
Yeah.
I have never been through this type of like pain before. This might take me out.
It's like the first time you get like a really bad stomach ache and you're like, that's it for me.
That's it.
It's something I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Doctor's gonna tell me I have 3 days left.
Yeah. I feel like also something interesting about this poem that I have really been obsessed with this perspective on life in the past few years is like the beauty and the sadness and like how cool is it that we get to feel that like and that there's like such a depth to emotion and that out of everything heartbreaking there comes something beautiful and I feel like the poem had this perfect kind of balance of like yeah this sucks and this hurts so bad but also like look what you can become and look how it changes you and look at the love that you shared with that person and all of that so I thought it was a really nice balance of kind of both of those elements in life.
I'd like to boast about Kennedy and Yasmin on that note specifically, actually, because Kennedy, I feel like you did such a good job of showing that exact thing that you just said. And Yasmin, in through your wardrobe options, when we were going through the wardrobe, I remember for each age, this is so cool. For each age and like experience and relationship that Lux, my character, experiences, in the next stage, Yasmin had incorporated a piece of wardrobe that Lux had learned or gotten from her previous relationship friendship. And I feel like that's such a awesome visual, like materialistic way of portraying, you know, what you get from these experiences and what you learn, what you're taught from each experience and relationship. And yeah, and you're never really losing someone because you do carry something, an experience or something from each relationship, in my opinion.
Just a cheeky little metaphor.
So let's make this clear. If you don't stick around for the credits, Yasmin acted in it and she also did all of the wardrobe. And
Amazing.
that idea was completely hers and something I was really stoked on when she brought it to me, but it was all her. She was like, what if we did something? He was like visual. Like you could see how it
More
changed.
than I needed to. She just needed to look like she was 15, and I was like, what if we like
What
took
if we
the
like
time
incorporated
put it in the
something?
clothes?
Yeah. And I feel like also, Yasmin, I don't think I've ever told you this, but something I think is so unique is like randomly, like in my head, like as a director, I'm sure for you as an actor, like these people that were in the poem, these characters that we created resembled people in my own life.
Mhm.
And for some reason, there was like aspects of our like unintentionally, maybe like subconsciously, there was like aspects of our like set design or like mostly our wardrobe that like were really in line with these people in my life.
Reminiscent of the people in your, I wonder why.
The people of my past. And now I fear actually that they're gonna watch it and think it's about them. And they would be right.
And they wouldn't be wrong.
Wouldn't be wrong.
It was
But the
kind of on
wardrobe,
purpose.
yeah, it was a little, some of them
It
were
was
a little on the
on
nose.
purpose.
Yeah. But the wardrobe was wonderful and it meant so much, like visually.
Mhm.
I
Actually,
felt like
Ken,
in a 7-minute piece, I wanted to like I feel like we had the opportunity to kind of dive into like the color scheme and the lighting. I mean, there was just like a lot of little things that we did to show progression, and the
Even
wardrobe
like,
was one of them.
not to interrupt, sorry. I just got excited. But even like the kind of time period aspect of it. Like I remember in the scene like with the train tracks with me and Gabe, he has like the oldest iPhone that I remember me and my best friend had in middle school. And also having to pull from my middle school closet was also a thing. But I mean, just even like, talking with my hair and makeup with Stacy, she gave me like a side part for all of it because that's what I had back then, so I think also just even visually the times of the period times of period that it lived in. Yeah. But there's so many details that I was just like, yes, that's amazing, that's so smart, and things like that. And like I feel like it just made my job so much easier as an actor because I was like, I'm wearing my middle school outfit. I have a side part. I'm wearing heavy black eyeliner. Like it's bringing me back.
It made your life easier and Yasmin and Stacey's life harder because I was like, we're gonna have 17 looks in 2 days, and
Yeah, you threw me into the deep end there. No, and I know we're taking over your interview here,
please.
but
we're just interviewing each other.
Go ahead.
now. No, but I feel like between Kennedy's wonderful directing and Tanner's fantastic cinematography and the hair and makeup and the wardrobe and the acting, like everything, it all coexisted so well together. Everything, I think it's rare to find a production where everything kind of just like clicks and fits together, like the puzzle just lays itself out perfectly. And I just feel like it did. Everything worked so well together.
Yasmin, thank you for that. You actually taken me to my next question for Kennedy. Exactly. Kennedy, what was the process of putting all this together? Because a lot of people are going to see the wonderful piece that's been created, and they get to see 8 minutes, 7 minutes, whatever it is, the length of the actual short film. But take us through that process of actually going through all of this and what it took, because this isn't, okay, let's put a film together.
No, I feel like you maybe assume that because it's like a short film and you're like, oh, that's easy. It actually does take quite a bit of preparation and post-production and planning, especially when you're shooting, you know, you have like 3 days to shoot, then like everything has to be, I feel like, really prepared. Just because like I only had Yasmin and Sabrina in town for 3 days. So whatever was going to be shot had to be shot in that 3 days. We couldn't push it back. We couldn't wait. But after I reached out to Piper, she was just like, hey girl, send me like a lookbook and a script. So I, you know, kind of pulled that together and sent it to her. I was kind of just like spitballing the idea with my friend Tanner. And he's been mentioned a few times. He's awesome, but he is an incredible cinematographer. And he was super excited and wanted to, you know, shoot this and also executive produce it with me. So it was kind of like him and I doing all the pre-production by ourselves and kind of figuring all of that out, which was fun and a great learning experience for me. But I feel like the best part of this was taking people who I loved and that I knew had talent, and like we're all kind of at this like same phase in our life where like we're beginning our careers. And so like, I mean, obviously Yasmin has some great credits and like not to discount that, but
But we are still just starting our career.
yeah, and so it like was this really cool thing where I kind of got to be like, I love you and I trust you, and like I'm gonna give you the creative control to do this. And like with Yasmin in the wardrobe, like that's not something she had done before. I knew in my heart, in my soul, that she would be incredible at that. And like I saw that those like seeds of potential and just like, you know, how she dresses and how she enjoys fashion, and like I knew that's something she could do, so I wanted to incorporate her in that and like let her take over and do the wardrobe. Same thing with the score, which is like one of my favorite parts of the entire film. um my friend Chase wrote it, and he had never scored anything before. But I had heard just a few of kind of like some songs he had written, and I was just like, I really think he can do this. And so I feel like it was a lot of that, which was so fun. I always love to work with people that I trust and then like let them do their thing, and then I'll come in and, you know, make any notes, or, you know, we can collaborate at the end. But I always like to see what people bring to the table first. And so I just gathered a bunch of people that I knew would bring everything they had to the table, and it ended up working super well.
I think that was very much a two-way street as well. Like I had never seen any of your work, but I was like, oh my God, Kennedy's gonna kill this. And especially because I do also make I especially at that time I made a lot of my own films as well, that it was also something that I had to learn to just kind of like let go. And I'm like, I'm just an actor on this. I completely trust Kennedy and Tanner to do this. But also at that point, you had never seen me act except for like that one summer that we met. So
Yeah, but I think I asked Yasmin, I'm like, she's a good actor, right? Like,
I promise.
yeah, and I'm like, okay.
yeah.
She-
And I remember
she's
saying all the
so
time, I was like, she really did not have to cast me in this. She's never seen me act. I can't believe she did. And I'm like, I'm so thankful that you just had that. Because I think, at least just especially between the three of us, I think we have so much trust in each other as artists and as creatives in general, that we just know that, you know, like you said, we're going to put our all into it, and that we can make it work and make it happen.
I feel like also, oh no, you got this.
No.
Okay.
No.
Sorry, I was just gonna follow up on that. Like on first of all, Sabrina, like I knew you had trained for years, and like I knew who you trained with. So I, you know, I trusted that like you had put work in, and also on another level, for this project, to me it was just like she's the character, he's the character. Like my friend Lucy, who comes in at the end, had never acted before, and I was just like, she can do this. I was just like, she just like is this person, and I just need her to be like completely herself in these scenes. And like her and Sabrina will have chemistry. There wasn't anything like too emotionally intense happening in those scenes, and I was like, I really think like she can just like exist in her own skin and be comfortable in front of the camera, that it's gonna like play so completely. And it did. So yeah, and everybody trusted me. Are you kidding me? I was like, hey, do you want to like come work on this? And they were like, sure. Like, you know, it really could have been terrible. And Piper, like I could have sent her something and she would have been like, that was such an intimate piece of my heart. And you, yeah, you did something, you made something.
So evident from just your script that you had written and your lookbook as well, that this was going to be beautiful and this was going to be well made. Your heart was like on display when you wrote that, and you could see it. And that was like the first indicator of this being such a stunning project. But I do think that the best part, one of the many fantastic parts of Kennedy as a director, is the trust that she just puts in people. Not what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, Cautiously, not in like it. She doesn't just trust everybody, but the people that she does trust, she really does just let them do their job. And a lot of times that's not the case. There is like a watchful eye and like you're doing this right, right, and then you get stressed and everybody's stressed. And that wasn't the case at all. She was just, put her heart out there and was like, I trust you to do your job with it. You trust me. Let's make something great. And she did.
And everyone pulled through. I've been on enough sets to realize, like as a not a director, as like a crew position where you can almost like observe, to realize when things go wrong. I'm just like an observant person, and I think that that is when things always go wrong on set. I'm like, you brought somebody in that's really good at their job, and then you're not going to let them do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you
That's a good
hired
point.
somebody because you obviously thought that they were a great cinematographer. Like, let them bring their ideas, like let them bring things to the table. Let us like build each other up and add to each other, instead of like, I always am humble enough to know that like I do not have the best idea in the room. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want somebody else to give me their idea, and then we can kind of like work off that together. Or like, I love to give people my ideas and hear their feedback.
It is a
Like,
big collaborative experience. Like filmmaking in general is so like such a collaborative experience. Like it's a team. Like you have to have a team. Yeah, that's
Yeah, I think you're selling yourself short if you don't utilize your team.
it.
I call you the amazing ones, and you prove it every time with everything that you ladies touch. And you showed up for each other, and you proved the point that you started with, that what got you through the teenage years and is being together and having the right individuals around you. And you just proved it with what you did, Kennedy, is bringing in the ones that mean something to you and that you can trust them in who they are. So kudos to you on that, and to each of you for showing up. How did you deal with any glitches that might have come up on the set? All of you, starting with you, Kennedy, because this
Glitches
is
are,
you.
they're unavoidable, I think.
Good.
This was like the first experience. I feel like listen, I'm like a little bit of a pessimist sometimes. Like, my mom is like the stable force of my life, and like always reminds me that like something happens so something better can come. And I feel like this was genuinely maybe one of the first, like, it was like in my face for like 2 months where something would fall through and then something better would come. And that was like a really humbling lesson for me to learn, and a really like hopeful lesson. One of them is, again, I only had these guys here for 3 days. Utah's weather is like a little bit crazy. And there's one line in the poem that says, even though the idea of us remains frozen in the summers of our youth, I will always remember what you taught me. And I was so insistent. I was like, I like had this vision. I'm like, they're running through a field, like the sun is like glaring off the camera, like it's this really like dreamlike state, and it's summer. It is summer. Like, it has to be summer. Like, I was so, I don't know if that was me just like kind of the inspiration behind that character was reminiscent of summer, and like I just like really, that was like my one thing. I was like, I just really want it to look like it's summer. So we like had scenes earlier in the day that it was sunshine. I had this beautiful field. There was like lake behind it, the mountains are behind it, really picturesque. and then we go to shoot at a school, and those scenes are awesome. And we walk out of the school, and I'm like, it is not snowing right now. Like, be for real. Like, it is just like just coming
snowing.
down. Like, it is snowing. And Sabrina's supposed to be wearing this like little sundress and like
Flip-flops.
the boy was Gabe was in also a very like summery outfit that I loved, and it honestly ruined my life for like 30 minutes. Like, I was like, I'm embarrassed if either of you saw me in like a little bit of a panic, but I was like, I don't know what to do, and we didn't also have like the camera equipment to like be filming in extreme weather. Like, it was a nice camera, it was nice lenses, and so we waited it out in the car, and Tanner and I were just like, oh my gosh, like, how did this happen to us?
We were literally
April.
watching the clouds. We were
Yeah,
like,
we're watching
there's
the
like an
clouds
opening
moving.
for like 2 minutes. We'll go during those like that little
Yeah.
opening of clouds.
So Tanner tells me we can go. I was like, okay, we're gonna have to live with it being what the sky looks like, but I do not want to see snow. Like, I do not want to see the snowflakes. Like, she's in a dress, it doesn't make sense. Like, you know what I mean? Why are they running in a field of, it doesn't, no, it just wasn't gonna work. And so Tanner's like, okay, like, I can shoot what we need in 2 minutes. We just need it to stop snowing for like 2 minutes. And I'm like, okay. So it did, I think, for maybe a minute and 30 seconds. Sabrina frolicked in the fields. We filmed it. And when we got it back to the editing bay, it was, that shot was like more beautiful than I could have imagined when it was like sunny outside. The fog over the mountains, like hanging on the lake, like sitting in the back. The natural lighting was incredible, and like it added to the mood of the film 100 times more than it would have if it would have been sunny. So I feel like that just was, that kind of summed up the experience for me, was just like, yeah, we're gonna face a hurdle and we're gonna get over it and it's gonna be better. I think that's all it is.
Great lesson. Great lesson to learn. Any challenges for you, Sabrina, that you experienced on the set?
Well, I was very lucky that I had a great team around me, so I just had to really worry about myself. But back to the weather thing. So I'm a native Southern Californian girl. So the cold was not something I'd ever experienced. And specifically, it's always the scenes with Gabe, it seems like. In the train car with Gabe, we were freezing.
It was
Like,
cool.
I remember we were both like in between takes, literally shaking so violently. And then like they would be like, okay, cameras are rolling, and we would literally hold each other's hand, look at each other, go, and then like try and control the shaking because we could not shake on camera. So we had like, it was so hard to control the shaking and everything. And
It was a safe set, I promise. I didn't put anyone in harm's way.
No, it was fun. It was a great experience. They were all so nice. They put
Treats.
literally piles of blankets on us
Tag if
in
you see
between
this.
takes.
It wasn't.
We promise.
I had a great time, I promise. I was not forced to do any of this. I was there voluntarily and enjoying myself.
Yasmin, how
Um,
about you, actually switching between wardrobe and acting and all of that? Were there any
Um,
glitches?
I think once or twice there was a wardrobe option that we had picked before, and it just didn't work either for the weather or the color. I think one of them was on the couch with that scene between Sabrina and Ewan. I had picked something, but it was matching the couch like exactly. So,
So like, get that out of there.
like, that's not gonna work. So we had to. I went through Kennedy's closet and just tried to throw something together that worked remotely, and it worked out. But
same with our
between
scene.
yeah, I think my biggest thing was it was freezing, and I wanted to make sure that everybody that I was dressing was not freezing. And I can only control that so much, but I think that was my biggest concern. And I was also very lucky with having to act and do wardrobe. It was easier than I thought it was going to be. And I think that's also because I'm only in a few scenes. So for those few scenes, it was just me and Sabrina. So all I had to do was like make sure everything was good for her, make sure everything was like sitting right for me. And I think I called to Kennedy a few times, just being like, is it sitting right? We
The
good.
one scene with the extras though, Yasmin's like,
Oh, yeah.
like, all over the classroom, and then she's like, I'm like, okay to one. She's like, okay.
You know, every time before she'd call action, I'd be like, one sec. And I like reach for the action, making sure everything was like set right. But honestly, I didn't feel like any of that was a real it was so fun and
Mhm.
everybody was so supportive and loving that I didn't really feel like it was a challenge at all. It felt like a fun thing to be doing. And obviously, I love acting and I love doing wardrobe. And I'm so lucky that Kennedy gave me the opportunity to do it for the first time and trusted me with that, because I really did find that I loved it. So between working with all of my friends and doing two things that I loved, I really had no room to have any issues.
It's an interesting question to answer because I was so happy through that entire experience. It was honestly like I when I came back home, I told everyone like there was not a single moment of the entire trip from like on the plane to leaving. There's not a single moment that I was like ever not even upset, but like not happy. Like it was such a great experience that it's almost like I feel weird saying that there were these challenges because in my head I was just like, no, it's fine. It's great, you know, because
As you're like sobbing in my bed
even that was a great experience. I was listening to Mamma Mia and
on
Mulan.
camera.
Because I sobbing to make a man out of you. So
Yeah.
it's
I'm like, Sabrina, what are you listening to?
Literally make a man out of you from Mulan and Mamma Mia.
that's what got her.
Yeah.
Huh?
That's what got her.
Yeah. No, yeah.
You'll see that in the short film when you guys watch it for the audience. That's
You
what she
won't
was
see
crying.
the song. Yeah, that's what she's crying
That's not,
to.
you won't see the make a man out of you. That's not good. But it's a fun little
Actually,
tidbit to know that that's what she was crying to.
and
Yeah.
Sabrina, you're kind of leading to my next portion of this. What was the most rewarding thing in this project for each of you? For you, Kennedy, as the director and the whole gamma, what was the most rewarding part of this?
Um.
You
Oh
go.
wait, who's going first?
Kennedy,
No, go.
Kennedy.
Oh. Um. Oh gosh, being with my friends first of all. But mostly I feel like a lot of people that I've shown it to have been really touched, and that's like been really rewarding for me. Like I love that I've been able to like take people back to their youth and just like create 7 minutes out of someone's day where they can connect to themselves emotionally. I feel like that's really beautiful, and that's been super rewarding for me.
Mhm.
What about you, Sabrina?
Well, going straight off of what Kenny just said, I had posted about it on my Instagram. And I remember it came out in a week that I was like super busy. So I kind of like didn't really have time to fester on what I was posting like I normally do. And I posted it. And then I'd gone back to my Instagram like a day later. And the post was just filled with the most beautiful comments from people. And I didn't have time to think about what exactly I was sharing with the world that I just and so many people like I had friends calling me crying. I literally had friends calling me crying, being like, that was so beautiful. Like, thank you. And I was like, oh, don't thank me. Like Kennedy, like created this beautiful piece. Well, we all did. We all did. And I think that was kind of the rewarding part that I wasn't expecting, but also something that was really rewarding for me from start to finish was that this is the first real thing that I have acted in, let alone be the lead in. And I think I was so touched with Kennedy's trust in me and being able to have my first acting role be this amazing thing. Because I think it's so for every actor, we've all done something that we're like, please don't watch that, you know? And it's usually in our earlier stages of our career, you know. I know what you're thinking about. But but like I feel
Really,
so fortunate that I'm like, this is the first thing that I'm really doing, and I'm so proud of it, of the film as a whole. And I think that was really rewarding for me. I'm like, this was such a great way to launch my acting career.
That's fantastic. And for you, Yasmin?
I think I've said this a lot over the past few days because I kind of just found a way to articulate it, but I have found in recent that my driving force in this industry and the reason that I do what I do and why I love what I do is because I believe that I'm here to help other people tell their stories. And it's my favorite thing to do. And I also really love to make people feel, and this short did both things. I think it told not only Piper's story, but Kennedy's story, and every teenager, every person's story so beautifully and so graciously, um, in a way that did resonate with everyone. Not everyone, I can't speak for everybody, but a lot of people that I know that saw it, that Serena's friends that saw it, and Kennedy's friends that saw it. Um, and it's really, really rewarding to be able to sit back and know that somebody's story was told in the correct light. Um, so I think that's what I loved from the get-go, is being able to help Kennedy tell her story, which also happened to be Sabrina's story and my story and everybody else's story.
Beautifully done, honestly. Each piece of it is very touching. You can tell that you really invested your heart into this and you looked at every detail. So, even me, again, I was drawn into it and it brought back all these emotions of being a teenager and what you have expressed for everyone to see. So, thank you for doing that, Kennedy. And the last part of putting this project out, because again there's a lot of wonderful individuals that are very creative that get stuck in themselves or in some of the challenges that come up. So take us through the process of not only completing the production but actually putting it out so that they can see that what steps can they take, what can they do so that they can move on with their own projects.
Yeah, I feel like I am the individual that stands in their way. That is me. Like even when we did this, I was like, oh my gosh, do I have to like unprivate my Instagram? And like I'm gonna have to like make it like a public account. Like I always have never posted like about my work or like anything on my Instagram. Both of these two know that, and Yasmin always gives me a hard time for it.
But you want a countdown to make your Instagram public. Like, okay, okay, 3, 2, go.
I'm gonna do it. And then I had to like set it as a business account, and you know what I mean? Like I was just like that was like out of my comfort zone for me, which might seem weird, but like um social media has always just been like a very personal kind of like, I don't know, I just post pictures with my friends and you know what I mean? Like whatever. But so I had to kind of get out of my own way and also like promote it to people that I knew. You know what I mean? Like I think that's the embarrassing part of anything is like I don't care who sees this if they're like a stranger, you know what I mean? But like people I know, like that's weird. um and so uh yeah, we decided to release it on a random day in January just because we just wanted to. I don't know. I was just like we just felt like it was time and we wanted people to see it. So I felt like I had to like give it like a good launching ground of like, hey, this is who I am, and kind of like the first time putting myself out there is like I'm a director and you know what I mean, this is what I want to do and this is what I do. I feel like that's kind of like a step of um just a step like to because I think there's kind of the thing of like, oh, I could fail at this, like I could be bad at this and then people could know that I tried and like didn't succeed. So I think that's a fear maybe a lot of people have in putting their work out there. People could make fun of me at school, you know what I mean? Like people could see this and like that's embarrassing. Like I don't, you know, like I don't want people to see this. And so I feel like just coming to a place where you can be confident enough in yourself to like show the world what you like to do, and really like this was like an intimate piece I think for everybody, like you know, of like feelings and heartbreak. And again, like I said, like there's gonna be people that watch it that are like, this was about me. This part it was she actually made a movie about me. And that's embarrassing. But I feel like yeah, I just had to like that was something I had to get out of my own way and post it and let everybody know that this was what I like to do and that I'm proud of this piece and that these are things that I've experienced in my life.
I keep saying I'm proud of each of you. Truly, you are amazing ones. And you said it so well, that fear of people that you care about rejecting or not liking something, but yet you did it. That's the most important part, is each of you stepped up and you did the work. So kudos to you on putting out a project that meant something very dear to each of you. That's the biggest part. And for young ladies that are listening, what piece of advice would you give them if they are sitting on something that they feel that they would like to put out, but are too fearful or challenged within themselves to do it? What advice would you give them? I say let's start with Yasmin this time.
This is when we turn the order around, I see.
When she doesn't have a single thought
I don't have
prepared.
a moment to think it, to articulate. No, I mean, it sounds cliche, but do it because somebody, it's going to resonate with somebody, and that's easier said than done. Because I think I can speak for all of us when I say that we've all been in that position. I mean, Kennedy's been talking about it. She's been in this position, but I've been in this position. Sabrina's been in this position where we have an idea or we have work that we might be proud of, but we don't know how it's going to be received because obviously you can't step outside of yourself in that way. But if it doesn't resonate with everybody, it will resonate with somebody and it will make an effect on somebody else. And that, I believe, is the most important part to me. So that's always the thing that gets me past that little blockade. So hopefully it does the same.
Sabrina?
Honestly, this is something I'm still dealing with. I don't want to say dealing with. I just want this is something I'm still learning how to navigate. I mean, especially because I feel like especially because I've come to meet so many creative people and like amazing artists, and even just like my parents, for example, were so supportive of me chasing my career and all that, and investing time and money into it as well. Like, I don't want to disappoint. I only want to continuously exceed people's expectations, which is a high standard I hold for myself, which is something I'm still figuring out, you all know. um and yeah, I think just like as artists, we're also like very hypercritical of our own work, but sometimes I know this is totally contradictory to what Yasmin just said, but like what I've been trying to do recently is I'm just putting my work out there for myself, is so, which is kind of, not completely different, because what she, it resonates with me, is, she's saying as long as it resonates with someone, well, it's resonating with me. So I want to put it out there for myself. And if other people happen to like it, that makes me really happy. And that does make me feel a lot more confident in my work. But like ultimately, the reason why I chose this career and am chasing all these different routes and stuff is because I want to and because it makes me happy. So I think that's something that I'm still learning to accept and stuff, but is kind of my driving force.
No, I think that's super true.
I love that. I agree with both of them. And I would also say there feels like a lot of pressure, I think, at least I've felt this, of like, this has to win an Oscar. Like, this is gonna be good. You know what I mean? Like with anything you do, like if I'm gonna invest time and I'm gonna invest money and I'm gonna invest, like my heart into something, then like you want it to do really well. And I remember having this conversation with Tanner, and he was like, Kennedy, like, if nothing else, we learned so much. If nothing else, you are a better director. I'm a better cinematographer. Like, there were invaluable lessons that we learned in that process that carry on to the next thing. So I think just letting it be what it is, and the more you do something, the better you get at it. You know what I mean? Like the one thing you do doesn't need to like define your entire career or like make or break it. It can just be something that is a stepping stone to the next thing, and you learn something so valuable in the first project that you did that carries into your 10th project that, you know, does super well. And so I think you just got to do it. Like you just gotta like you got to make it. You got to go. It doesn't need to be wonderful and big and beautiful and crazy. It could literally just be like a short that you made with your friends with a camera that you had. You know what I mean? Like I think probably all of us have done that at some point, and it's just something that you just learn something little until you know you're where you want to be. Like I think it's all just like a stepping stone. It doesn't need to all happen in one short, in one movie, in one screenplay.
For sure. It doesn't have to be perfect your first, second, 10th, 100th time.
And circling all the way back to Sabrina's answer at the beginning of feeling like everything has to happen to you so young, it doesn't. Your career is lifelong. Your career is for as long as you love it. So it doesn't, bouncing off of both of you, it doesn't have to be now. It doesn't have to be this one. It might be the 20th one. It might be the next one. But just as long as you like it, then you did something good.
Drop the mic on all of your perspective. Like, really, some wonderful young women and men are going to listen to this and they're going to hear your advice more than they're going to hear anyone else that's an adult or that's telling them what to do. So, thank you for your perspective. It really means a lot. And I'm so glad that not only is this project out and is fantastic, but your friendship is even stronger. Right?
I
We're like
know we're like,
very much.
sure.
Ah.
No, I love both of these guys so much. This doesn't
Mhm.
feel like my project, my direct, like it felt like truly a group project, and everybody had so much stake in it and so much hard work into it, and definitely I feel like did grow everybody closer because we all had fun, we all respected each other, and we all like validated each other's ideas, felt like a safe space to be. And so yeah, I'm so lucky to have these two as friends and everybody else who worked on it that supported me.
Yeah, no, I feel so lucky that these two friendships that I made when I was literally 15 years old happened to
Yeah.
never would I thought at 15 when I walked into like this week-long summer program. I
We
would
met at summer camp.
at summer camp,
Acting summer camp.
theater kids. No, you guys zip zaps off your way into my heart.
Yeah.
No,
Yes.
no,
Zip
but
it all the way.
I never would have thought at that point that you guys would become so close to me and become a creative backbone for me. And I'd have the opportunity to make something so special and wonderful, not only once, but I'm sure many, many times again. And as far as our friendship goes, I'm pretty sure we're gonna get out of this and text and be like, "You guys did so good, love you." Or this is beyond just the Zoom.
We're gonna Zoom and then call on our own. Do
Yeah.
our own Zoom.
For all our viewers, what you're seeing is the real individuals. So when you see them in lots of projects, these are the real human, wonderful, amazing ones that show up for each other and really give it their all. I'm so proud of each of you. I thank you. Continue doing great work in every project that you approach. I know that you all have individual projects that you're itching to put out into the world because it has meaning and it has an impact. So kudos to each of you. Any final words from any of you?
Well, thank you, Rima, for giving us this space and platform to talk about something that was so dear to our hearts. You know, like I came out of that experience in Utah and I was like, dang, that's it. And so it makes me happy that almost a year later, we're still able to relive those amazing experiences and talk about it and share it. And so thank you. And also for, you know, especially highlighting a lot of the lessons that were learned or were intended for people behind it as well, and not just about, I don't know. hair. I don't know. Other like you see those interviews online where it's like, oh, these were such superficial questions, and luckily that didn't happen here. And I'm very happy and grateful for you, Rima, for giving us this space to do that.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, on that note, thank you so much. And also, go watch What You Taught Me, directed by
Oh yeah.
starring Sabrina Zukowski.
Wardrobe and starring Justine Fletcher.
Directed and
Go watch
produced
that
by
movie.
Kenny Clark.
We will
Yes.
definitely attach the link in the wording so that people can actually see it and follow through. And you can follow all of them on Instagram. They go by their names. They're not
Now you
hidden.
can, because I'm public on Instagram. So
Public now. So
everybody can follow me now.
Our audience, thank you so much for being with us. Remember, always, our attitude determines our altitude in life. Look at these wonderful young ladies that have worked on their attitude, and look at the projects that they're launching. We love you. See you in the next episode.